The thoughts and opinions on Just Some podcast are of the hosts and guests and do not represent the views of organizations that employ them or they volunteer for. They are also not responsible for spontaneous black holes or nuclear wars that may occur. You have been warned.
Welcome everybody to another fun-filled and exciting episode of Just Some Podcast. This is Tom.
Hey, this is Ben. Tom, man, how's it going, bud?
Well, it's hot. That's how it's going.
Damn right it is. It's hot all over.
I know it's quite a bit hotter where you're at, but it seems like the humidity's worse here. So not only are you hot, but you're sticky all the time. So
I don't know.
That's super
Get
fun.
a pretty good case of swamp ass here. So
Yeah, no. I'm well aware. I just, ugh. So maybe it's because it hasn't been that hot that it suddenly got hot and you're like, oh, son of a bitch. So I seriously thought like all the fireworks were going to be soggy. Like it was so humid out. You're like, ugh, this is terrible. But I'm also excited. I don't know why I said excited. There was nothing exciting about swamp ass. But you know what I am? I am excited for a completely separate subject. It was a piss poor lead-in, Ben. You fucking failed me on the setup, okay? So we are doing mental health awareness on the show this month, and we have the somewhat okay and marginally well-educated Jessica with us.
Oh, thank you.
Great
intro.
Yes,
great intro.
Just so everybody knows, I actually know her from a previous life, so I felt like it was okay to tease her somewhat during that. But Jessica, welcome to the show. Do you want to tell the 2 or 3 people that are going to be downloading this and listening to it on their car ride who you are and what's going on?
Sure. I'm Jessica.
We established that.
Yeah, like Tom said, I knew him in a different life. We'll say a different lifetime ago. I am the behaviorist at Family Practice. I work with most of the primary care providers. We work on behavioral interventions and things of that nature. So what questions do you have for me?
Whoa. I thought you said you listened to the show. No, way too quick. You're not getting off the hook that easy. This is the part of the show I like to say.
I told Ben to ask me specific questions.
Oh, we're going to get specific. Yes, but this is the part of the show where we kibitz a little bit. Like we just talk about some stuff like, the week we had. How was your week been, Jess?
My week it's been very busy. It's been a busy week.
Which is good,
baseball.
Right?
Yeah, that's good. I like that better than doing nothing. Baseball practices. I've been working out like crazy, so it's keeping me pretty busy and motivated.
All right.
Which is always fun to see when Jess has been working out, because Jess and I do work together. So you can always tell when she's been working out extremely hard because she's walking down the hallway like she can barely move. It was a good exercise day.
That doesn't happen too often.
So do you do like CrossFit or anything, or is it just...
No, I just do a mix of different things. I've recently taken up running, which is new for me. I've been doing anywhere from...
Is something chasing you? Like, why would you do that?
Right? Yeah.
Right? I don't know. That's not anything I ever thought I would do. I used to walk all the time, but I joined this running group in the community. And so it's been a big motivator just to get out and move. And they keep you at a steady pace. So
a running group, it kind of sounds like a cult. I don't know.
I feel like it kind of is.
Well, the only time I've heard of a running group that someone told me about, and I was like, there's a running group around here where they run like a half mile or a mile to another beer stop, and then they stop and they all have drinks, and then they like
There you go.
jog for like another mile, and then I was like, okay, so that sounds fun, but at the same time, let's say I did 4 miles, which is not going to happen, but let's say I did. So what you're saying is I'm going to be sloshing around a mini keg for 4 miles. That sounds fucking terrible. So
that does sound terrible.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, the idea, I guess if I was skinny and ran a lot, it wouldn't be that big a deal. But I'm like, dude, I'm like like a dump truck. Like that's not going to be very fun hauling that around. So, but no, hey, that's great. I'm glad you got into running and stuff. I keep seeing all the CrossFitters. There's several actually very well-known CrossFit gyms close to where I live, and I always want to try something new, but honestly, I just can't. Right now it's time. I just have a weird schedule, so it's not the easiest, but I know I need to make that time. But I see them doing all these new exercises. I just was like, God, that looks awesome. I just have never done it yet. So
yeah, I've never gotten into CrossFit.
that's the excuse I keep giving myself. So, yeah.
But Tom, I'm not sure that you can do CrossFit without telling everybody that you're doing CrossFit. You got to remember that.
So yeah, how do you know the CrossFit guy died? Because he stopped telling you he was doing CrossFit. Yeah, I get it. I get it. But okay, so in a roundabout way, I know a nurse whose brother is like a mega. He's like, I don't want to say famous, but he's a competitor in CrossFit. If I looked like that dude, I would tell you I CrossFitted as well. So I'm just saying, I was like, holy cow, Jennifer, like, that's your brother? She's like, yeah. I'm like, I think he got crossbred with a moose or something. Like something happened to that guy. Like, Jesus Christ. So, I mean, I get it. You know, a weird thing. Well, we'll talk about that off the air. But there is some other things I've been looking at. I'm just like, hey, that's pretty cool. But so Jess, this is also the part of the show. This is Ben's favorite part of the show. This is the part of the show where we tell everybody about where they can find us on social media.
Well, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, all at Just Some Podcast. Or you can find us on the web. We're at www.justsomepodcast.com. You can email us, admin@justsomepodcast.com. Also, don't forget to check us out on our new podcast hosting device. That is justsomepodcast.libsyn.com. And we're also on Helium Radio Network. That's Helium Radio, Channel 2, Helium After Dark, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. Tom, what else can they do to help us out?
Well, first of all, they can tell all their friends and family about us. They can give us some ratings and reviews and just give us some general feedback. We always love to hear from everybody by email or any of the social media sites. They can find us on YouTube. I don't know if you mentioned that one or I didn't hear that one. We do have a YouTube channel, so please check that out, especially if you're at work. That might be handy. We also have a store, and I'm going to be a terrible person where we have some merch, but I don't know the exact URL. Do we have that on our website?
It is on our website. You just go up to the top or the bottom, you click on store. It'll take you right over to our online store, and you can get all kinds of JSP merchandise.
So I cheated. He texted it to me one time, so I've never actually had to click on it yet. So I will get on that. No, terrible person. I just used the easy way. Also, finally, the biggest thing, the most popular feature seems to be people clicking on our Amazon affiliate link on our website. You just scroll to the bottom, click, go do your shopping, and we get some proceeds back to the show. And while we never know who or where is buying the products, we do love seeing some of those reports of what has been purchased with our link. So please feel free to entertain us and let us live vicariously through you. I don't know who bought the 12 gallons of KY jelly and the baby swimming pool, but I want a party. Like, let's make that happen. I don't know how, unless it's Jeff again. I don't want that. But, you know, anybody else, you feel free to contact us, and we'll try and make something happen. Jess, do you have?
Wait.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, too far fast.
Before you throw it to Jess, I do want to remind everybody, because this will come out over this weekend that we're recording. And so Monday, the 15th through the 17th is Amazon Prime Days. So you can get all kinds of great merchandise, significantly cheaper, discounted. Make sure you use our link. I would love to see our link go crazy during that time.
And if you've been drinking margaritas, please feel free to continue to use our link at that time as well. So that's always fun.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that, Ben or Jess? Have you guys ever done the drunk Amazon shopping?
I've done drunk texting a few times, but I don't know about drunk Amazon shopping.
Okay.
No.
I personally,
Just you.
I think I know better than that. I think I know better
I
than
personally have never done that as well. I'm usually too busy laughing, watching like a comedy special on Netflix when I'm drunk to do that. But I do know more than one person that has said, so like 3 boxes showed up at my house and I don't remember buying stuff. I'm like, ooh, you might want to look in those, see what happened. So that's always great. Jess, do you have anything social media or anything you want to shout out?
Well, that really put me on the spot
Well,
there.
it's okay if you don't. I mean,
I don't have any. I mean, no, I don't.
it's okay. Not everybody can be this cool, Jess.
I'm gonna need you to edit that out.
What? No, that's staying in. You just say, yeah, no, that's in. All right, Ben. So I don't get too far ahead of ourselves. And I guess I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag. Usually, Ben does not like to talk to me about the stories we may have missed, just to see what I'll say when I hear it.
To get your reaction. Yeah, that's true.
But this week, I actually found one and sent it to him. I'm going to let him talk about it because, Jess, I don't know if you've ever heard, whenever we try and change it up and I do the story or I do the social media shout out, it is, for lack of a better term, a clusterfuck. And it's hilarious to me to do it, but it just never goes very well. So I'm going to let Ben start off this. He's got that radio announcer voice, and then we can just chime in. Oh, I don't think Jess knows it, so we'll see what Jess has to say. Get some fresh take there.
All right. Well, this is going to get Tom good and fired up for the rest of the show, I know, and because we talked about it already a little bit. But Tom, the great state of Ohio, their Senate, more specifically, has decided to strip PTSD coverage for first responders, so firefighters, police officers. They are no longer going to pay for that as part of the budget. They pulled all of the language out in regards to PTSD. Now, it did pass the House initially, and then when it went to the Senate, they gutted that part of the language out. And the Fraternal Order of Police of Ohio is, quote, disappointed, and they're going to continue to fight for the PTSD language. And I thought this quote was very telling also. From the Ohio Fraternal Order of Police, if a police officer breaks his leg carrying an injured child to safety, workers' comp is there to help him heal. However, if that same child dies in a painful death in the officer's arms, the officer isn't otherwise injured, there is no help for the officer to process and cope. I went out, Tom, before I turn it over to you, Tom, and Jess. So I went out to NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and they actually have a law enforcement specific page, which I thought was kind of interesting and telling to this story. Nearly 1 in 4 police officers has thoughts of suicide at some point in their life. The suicide rate for police officers is 4 times higher than that of firefighters. More police officers die by suicide than in the line of duty. And compared to the general population, law enforcement report much higher rates of depression, PTSD, burnout, and other anxiety-related mental health conditions. Tom, your thoughts?
Well, allow me to let let's see here. What was this guy's name? Oh, Jesus, what a name. Senate President Larry Obhoff. Fuck him. I don't care what his last name is. So let's just go over this real quick. The House puts together a bill. They cover all this stuff. They send it to the Senate. The Senate decides that they need to gut this for reasons that they can't indicate. They don't ever talk about. They indicated, I like this quote. This one really fired me up. He indicated that he personally supports PTSD coverage for police officers. This is that Senate guy who led the charge to gut the bill. But then he's like, no, I support you police officers and firefighters and EMS, even if they don't have a physical injury when they develop the disorder. Isn't that fucking great of them? So if I don't get hurt physically, or if I got hurt physically while I was getting PTSD, then it's okay. Then it's all right to be mentally fucked up for a minute, to keep that scar. But if I don't, and I just, witness a terrible tragedy that I can't live with for quite some time, then I'm just supposed to suck it up and deal with it, right? Because this fucking guy, he's been out doing stuff, right? Like, he went out and did stuff. And so he knows what it's like. So I will give at least some credit on my personal Facebook page while I let my feelings flow in a rant about what I thought about the Ohio Congress. And I should retract some of the things I said, because it wasn't all of them. The House, as specifically Larry Householder, the House Speaker, said, basically, I'm paraphrasing him, he said bullshit and said that they're not going to pass this the way they have it. So hopefully this is not done, but I've been a police officer. Everybody that listens to the show knows that. And I will tell you, and I'll try not to get too, upset, but there are scars that I tell you right now I will carry the rest of my life. And I'm no different than any of my brothers and sisters out there that have been police officers. It goes for the red, it goes for the green, whatever the EMS colors, I think if they're green, it goes for all the first responders out there with us.
Very true.
We all go through something. And sometimes I will tell you there are things that you don't recognize at the time, and then all of a sudden it comes back to haunt you. It's those invisible scars and wounds that make it hard to move forward sometimes in life. And a bunch of guys that sit in their fucking office and then talk about and campaigns how much they love police officers and how much they support law and order and how much they hate crime, do this cowardly, spineless, fucking backstabbing action to hurt the very people that they claim to support is the type of shit that everybody needs to be paying attention to. And I'm actually trying to not scream into this microphone right now.
I can tell.
Boy, Ben was right.
Oh no, it's beyond angering to me and I live here now, and I tell all my friends, man, I love living here. I think we do a great job. And societal differences, there are many. I will tell you, for the most part, most communities up here in general seem to support police officers. So when I saw this, it was like a double stab in the back. It was that, wait, the very people I thought had their backs are now the ones stabbing it. And I think that was the ultimate betrayal. I guess that's one of the reasons that hurt so much, is like, wait, these guys are out doing a great job, and this is the repayment they get. Because like I said, I personally, I've been through it. I've never been diagnosed with anything. And maybe that's because when those events happened, it was still an old school mentality of suck it up, go home, drink some whiskey, go to sleep. You'll wake up tomorrow feeling better. I don't know. But I know I have never been through any formal, screening on any of this stuff. I guarantee you I probably would not like the results if I did. And so, but I know how I feel. And I know when I talk to people that have similar mental health aspects, I understand. And so seeing this it was upsetting.
I did see another story on another article on the same story, I guess I should say, that said that they were wanting to fund PTSD, but they were wanting to do it separately, not as part of the work comp portion, and that they were wanting more time to study the issue.
Yeah. I saw that. And what that is that's bullshit language to, we're going to table this shit so that this dies down and then you forget about it. And then we're going to backdoor it and never bring it back. It's horse shit. It was horse shit when they said it. It was a horse shit idea, and it's a bullshit way to carry it out. So before I get more fired up, Jess, what do you have to say about this?
Well, I mean, it all in the end boils down to money. They don't want to spend the money. They don't want to pay out more claims. I think I read an article, so, don't quote me, I don't remember what it was, but it's only going to open the door for workers to abuse the system, to claim they have PTSD or claim they had a bad day, and things like that. It's going to and those things will happen because unfortunately people will abuse that, but the ones that aren't are going to suffer.
I will tell you, I understand that, and I'm glad you said it, Jess, because I was literally going to say the same thing. Someone's going to abuse it. It's going to happen, okay? But that's also happening with back injuries. I didn't see them say, we're going to stop paying for ankle injuries or back injuries. Like, they didn't say that. They said, oh, but mental health, since I can't tell it and it doesn't affect my photo op, you get to do it. Because I'll tell you, there are still days of the year now that I dread when the calendar flips over to that day. I just do. It's not as bad now as it was. Time does heal some scars, but it's never going to go away.
Still there.
Yeah, it's still there, and no matter how better it gets, it's still there. And I know what those officers have been through. I know what those firefighters have been through. I know what those EMS paramedics and EMTs have been through. And
Dispatch also. Don't forget dispatch.
Sorry, brothers and sisters at dispatch. I would never doubt you because you love to fuck with people when you're angry. But it's true.
That was nursing.
It is true.
It's so true. Dispatchers are like, oh, well, look who's going to go on 72 dog calls tonight. So we can get off this here in a minute. I want everybody listening to understand that, again, like these stupid comments about nursing that was made, this is going to trickle down to you. Okay. Ohio is a very populous state. All right. There's a lot of people here. And if they save $1 off of this, and you live in Florida or you live in Vermont, which we'll talk about here in a second, or Texas or California, guess what? They'll come for you next. All right. If one state gets away with this and the other states figure it out, you'll be next. So I hope everybody's paying attention. I hope anybody affiliated with the State Congress of Ohio that, I don't know how they'd hear this, but if they do, please contact me. And if you need me to call these guys fuck faces to their face, I'll be more than happy to do so at any time. So just let me know. But yeah, that's that story for today. So
Good.
yeah, exactly. So yeah. All right. So now that we got that going, Jess.
Now that Tom's getting fired up.
Yeah. Now we get to go. Go ahead, Jess. Test me now that I'm all fired up. I'm joking. I wouldn't do anything.
No. I'm not going to go there.
All right. So, Ben.
Yeah.
You said
yes.
Miss Jess said that you had some questions ready for her.
No, she just wanted specific questions. I didn't.
Oh, okay. So this is the part of the show where we're like, so what's your favorite color? No, I'm joking.
Pink. It's pale pink.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Why, honestly, I shouldn't be shocked or surprised at all. So I'm not.
What do you mean by that? Why?
I've seen you dress before. So
I don't know that I've ever worn pale pink. Ever.
I'm just saying, I'm not shocked that pale pink is your favorite color. All right. Let's just put it that way. You've never, whatever.
I probably have.
Yes, I'm sure you have.
So Jess, the behaviorist role, is that something relatively new in mental health? Is that something that's been around for a while and we just didn't know about it?
It has been around for a while in other areas. Very new to this area. I've been working in this particular job for about 2.5 years, and it came out of a grant from Sunflower. So I really am the first one in this area. Well, okay, so there was a person before me, but that did not last very long. And so technically I'm the first one to kind of get it up and going. There's only one of me for this whole area. So that's been kind of a cool thing.
Okay, so what's your background prior to taking on this role as a behaviorist?
So I went to school. I got a bachelor's psychology, and then I went on to get a master's in human resource development. I started working for mental health, and I've actually been in the mental health field for about 14 years this month, actually. I did a bunch of different things in mental health. I've been a case manager for children. I've been a case manager for adults. I coordinated a program called Project Before. I was doing juvenile intake. I've been a crisis therapist. I've been a outpatient therapist. I've done a whole gamut of things in the last 14 years.
So with everything that you've done, which do you think has been your favorite?
Hands down, the behaviorist position that I'm doing now has been the best. I really always wanted to work in the healthcare field, so this was a really cool thing. It was good timing, right place, right time. I think it's right where I needed to be. So
okay, so here's something. So Ben and I know you. We've worked with you or around you, so we have a better understanding. So what exactly is a behaviorist? What is your job function? How do you facilitate what you do within an office space?
So the behaviorist, or some people call it a behavioral health consultant, I work with all the primary care providers. I provide brief, solution-focused interventions, anything that can be managed with a behavioral intervention. And also if the primary care provider feels like they would benefit from talking with me to try to do some interventions with them. It's just kind of the provider sees them, makes a referral to me. I go in immediately into the room. It's supposed to be about 10 to 15 minutes with each person that I see. Sometimes it's a lot longer than that. Sometimes it's just a couple minutes. It just kind of really depends. But I see anybody, there's really a big range of things, anywhere from sleep hygiene to weight management, depression, anxiety, ADHD, alcohol and substance abuse, smoking cessation, you name anything that can be helped with a behavioral intervention.
So what about like even chronic disease, like say diabetes,
Diabetes,
hypertension, things like that?
yeah, we can go in and talk about diet and exercise and try to get them on a more specific plan. That way, there's all kinds of things.
So, do you do like a screening, or do you just set up treatment when you go and you talk to the patient? Like, let's say it's drug and alcohol abuse.
hmm
Is there like a screening to see what level? Is it just to help provide resource? Like, what is, take me through a partial screening, or just give me an overview of it?
So we can I'll do the cage sometimes, for the alcohol screening. Sometimes it's a simple 30-second assessment when you're trying to build the rapport there initially. They'll let slip, or they'll just right out admit that they're having issues with drinking or drugs or something like that. It's just kind of where the patient wants to take you. If it's something that's going to be more than what that 10 or 15-minute office consult is going to be at that time, then I try to refer them to the local mental health, or we have a couple of private providers in the area also to try to get some help. And sometimes they are really grateful and appreciative and want that help, and sometimes they just say no thanks, and that's fine, but it's offered.
Are you able to make recommendations on treatment or medications? Is like that part of something you do, or is that just something you strictly leave up to the providers?
I do 0 medications. That is completely up to the providers. I do make recommendations on whether or not I feel like they'd benefit from further counseling, more consistent, maybe every week, every other week. What type of counseling? Some people benefit a lot from just talk therapy. Some people benefit from DBT. Some people there's all different kinds. Some people need medication. Sometimes the providers are more comfortable with a psychiatrist doing the psychiatric medications. It's just different every time. So
the way I generally word it is I will tell a patient, hey, so I have a behaviorist on staff here, and I'm going to have her come and visit with you for a few minutes, and she's going to discuss some of the non-pharmacological ways to help with whatever we're dealing with. But I also have, personally, I can say that I've used Jess in the past, as well as if I have a patient come in and they're like, well, I don't know if I have depression or if it's bipolar or what it is. And so then I can say, hey, Jess, can you take a few minutes and do a quick screening and just give me your thoughts on this? Because she does have a vast experience in mental health that I don't have. So, that's how some of the ways I have utilized her services. Tom, any?
Well, I'm just trying to soak it all in because this isn't a resource I have available. So I'm just in my head wondering how she was deployed for use and stuff like that, or how far did the screenings go? Like, did they include medication recommendations or anything like that? That's what I was trying to get at, is like, where does the behaviorist draw the line? Just strictly non-pharmacological, or
yes.
Okay. So if they needed, like when we talked to Mike, like the ESRD, do you do that, or do you just recommend that as a treatment since it's non-medicine?
I can recommend it. And what did you say? The
ESRD. It's like the eye movement.
Oh, the EMRD. Okay.
EMRD. I said ESRD, didn't I? Sorry.
Yeah.
Threw me off there.
Yeah, that's why she was like,
Wait a minute.
stupid non-mental health person talking mental health.
And there's actually
That's why we're doing the show.
there's a psychologist in town that does the rapid eye desensitization. But other than that one person here locally, you have to travel a couple hours for that type of treatment.
I didn't realize there was one local. Huh. Anyway, there.
We're all learning.
So,
See?
So, Jess, do you think your role as far as being a behaviorist and being actually in the primary care clinic, and I know you kind of help out in like, you can go up to like our OB clinic if they need
Yes.
your services as well. But do you think that's kind of helped bridge some of that gap between primary care and mental health and some of that stigma that kind of comes along with quote unquote mental health?
I think it has helped. I still run into all the time patients that just absolutely do not want to go to mental health. I mean, the stigma is still there. It's still just something they don't want to do. They don't want to be in a room. They don't want people to know. They're much more comfortable coming out to a hospital or a clinic that doesn't have mental health on it. Or, I mean, we all know that mental health has got that stigma and it's looked at as a negative a lot of the time. And it was a real big eye opener for me when I first started. I had no idea so many people came to their primary care provider with zero thought of ever going to mental health for those
Yeah,
types of issues. I had no idea.
it's very true. Yeah. So, from your mental health experience, then, how do you think that we as a society, we as healthcare providers, can help break down some of that stigma?
Well, I mean, I think you do a great job of just kind of explaining to the patient that you have somebody that's available to talk, kind of bridges a little gap at least that they wouldn't otherwise even consider. So when the providers, I love that the providers will recommend me or say, we have someone that you can see that can talk to you about these issues, knowing that they're not going to really go anywhere else. I mean, they need something. And it's not like I'm not doing intensive therapy or, specialty therapy or anything while we're in there, but at least they get something. They can take something away.
So, two-pronged question. One, you said you were from a grant program. How do we find out, or do other states have similar programs so that if I'm going to go on a limb and say most offices don't have a behaviorist. So, how do we look into developing or trying to get a behaviorist in our office if we don't have one?
That's probably a better question for somebody else. I don't know. I do not know how to answer that.
Well, okay, that's fine. So so the program, it's a state program and they say, hey, we're going to allot money to counties. Do you know any of that? Or
Yeah, I know our CEO of mental health, they had to write a grant, they had to be approved, they had to tell why this was going to be beneficial. They have to do a report quarterly to show how many people I've actually served. It's a big deal. It's a big process.
so are you still grant funded or have you moved over to employee?
I am still grant funded
Okay.
at this time.
And kind of going to what Ben said. So, for those of us that don't have you in our office, what can I do to help facilitate some of the mental health aspects you were just talking about or incorporate those into my practice? Like, what advice for somebody that doesn't have you available? Like, what can I do to try and help with some of the things that you're doing?
So a lot of these people really just need someone to listen to them, I've found. I mean, they will feel so much better if someone just takes that 10 or 15 minutes to just listen. Be a ear, be a shoulder. I mean, just be there, be present.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, Tom.
Well, okay, you're a listener and I'm a talker. So that's why. Could you imagine? Oh my God, I just had like one of those little funny cut scenes from like Scrubs in my head. Jess's podcast is 42 minutes of
Oh,
silence. Just
goodness.
that. And then,
Mhm.
and then just wait another 5 minutes. I hear what you're saying. And then just pause for 5 minutes. Like, wow, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. It's the listening podcast. See what I just did there? I gave you a whole platform now,
Mhm.
Jess.
Thank you. Well, we know.
Okay, Jess, so what are, say, like your top three favorite things to deal with?
Favorite things to deal with?
Yes.
Um, I mean, I would say the top three things that I do deal with are depression, anxiety, and weight management. Those are the top 3 that I get the most referrals for. And for the depression and anxiety, I mean, they're pretty similar interventions that we do with everyone. I mean, there's basic relaxation techniques. It's a lot of the same things for a lot of these different things.
I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of surprised that either or substance abuse or smoking cessation were not in that group. I know weight management is a very important part and there's a large mental health component to it, but at the same time, I guess I was really expecting her to say, because I know smoking, primary care, almost
Mhm.
every patient, there's a smoking screening that you're not more involved at, or drugs and or alcohol. It just,
Mhm.
so do you still see a lot of that, but just not as much, or am I overestimating how often you're dealing with that?
I'm not utilized for that very much at all.
Is that something you think you should be utilized more for?
Yes, I mean, I think the substance abuse is probably one of the main things I thought that I would be dealing with.
I thought that was going to be the first thing you were going to say, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think some of that from the provider standpoint is I don't think about it as far as, oh, hey, let me get Jess involved. If someone comes in specifically with depression, anxiety, bipolar, or anything along those lines, my radar's already there. And so I think about it, whereas if it's smoking cessation or substance abuse, it's not high on my radar. And so that's something that I need to get better about, as well as probably the other providers in the area.
Well, I think some of it's regional, probably a little different. Like up here, when I got, my Suboxone waiver, when I was going through that training, a large portion of that training was dedicated to drilling into your head, hey, if you're doing this, 99 out of 100 times there's going to be a mental health aspect. There might be abuse, neglect, something caused this,
Mhm.
a sexual assault, something has stimulated the cause of their drug abuse, and you need to be cognizant of that. So that's why maybe I just have a different take because I'm in a different area, but I was really expecting Jess to be on that more. And I'm not saying you're not up to date on it, Jess. I'm just saying I just assumed you were going to be used for it more often.
Yeah, that's one of the things I thought I'd be used for the most going into it. But I probably count on my one hand.
Wow. And it's a tiny hand. It's
Oh,
not... Okay, so
Still the
if those are the things that you see, what was that, Ben?
So it's still the same number of fingers, regardless of the size of the hand.
Yeah, but I mean, there's less of it. So I'm just like, oh, like I just want our listeners to think of a Smurf. Like if you think of Smurfette,
oh.
that's pretty much Jess. I'm short and I feel like a damn giant when I stood next to Jess. I'm like, this is what it's like to be tall. There you go. So if those are the things you deal with the most, and now I guess we answered our question, what you deal with the least, which is substance abuse. What is one of the things you find most difficult to deal with?
So I guess I left one out, grief. I wouldn't say difficult. It's the hardest personally, I guess. That's a hard one.
I can see that.
It's just really got to step back. I mean, you have empathy and you do all the things, but at the end of the day, it really, really eats at you. I mean, you have to hear the stories. I know you hear of secondary post-traumatic stress. It's a real thing. And listening to people talk about how they're grieving and have lost a son, a daughter, a husband, a wife. It's hard.
Yeah, again, pre-kids, pre-wife, I don't think I could have been as empathetic. I'm not saying I wouldn't have been kind or listened. I'm just saying, like, I'd have been like, okay, that sucks. But now that I have a child and a wife, I'm like, whoa, God, that's a,
It's a whole new ball.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a
it's,
whole new.
and to have to take that home is, that's rough. And again, going back, like you said, the secondary PTSD stuff like that is seeing some things now still to this day. I'm like, I get all upset and I'm like, I don't even know why I'm upset. Like, why am I pissed off now? So it just happens. Oh, war movies. Oh God, they get
Mhm.
me every time. But yeah, it's one of those things. I'm like, wow, I guess I never thought about that. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm glad Ben got you on the show, is to hear about these things.
So I think that brings up an interesting question then, Jess. So your job is dealing with a lot of that sad/bad shit. So how do you, as the behaviorist, then kind of de-stress that?
Well, you heard me talking about my newfound love for running, right? Now, I do a lot of
Yeah.
working out kind of stuff. I have 2 smaller kiddos, keep me pretty busy and active. So there's a lot I do here at home. I do my own mindfulness meditation types of things. Do practice what I preach most of the time. I utilize deep breathing. I do a bunch of these things.
But it's good that you actually practice what you preach.
Hmm.
I mean, I think, it would be really bad if you were like, here's what I do, or here's what I recommend you do. Well, what do you do? I get shit-faced every night because I have.
Yeah.
How do you deal with this, Tom? I can't tell you that. So there you go. So along those lines, what advice would you have? So talk about that a little more. What are a few simple things that we can pass along to our patients or to ourselves to help deal with some of those things, like mindfulness, breathing? Like, what other tips, tricks?
Deep breathing is probably one of the most basic but most effective things a person can do if they do it right and consistently. And I teach, when I tell people how to do these things, I practice it with them. I go over it with them. I give them a handout about it. Sure to stress every single time, this will not work if you go home and do it one time. You might as well wad it up and throw it out the window on the way out. Because if you can't commit to, my recommendation is 12 to 15 times a day for 2 minutes each time they do deep breathing. That's what I recommend.
Okay, so you kind of walk them through it. So explain deep breathing?
Okay, so the way I teach people is to put one hand on your stomach and one hand on your chest. And when you inhale to take in that breath, your stomach is pushing outwards. So, using your diaphragm. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and then exhale through your mouth for 4 seconds. And you just repeat that for 2 minutes. And you do that when you get up, you do that in the shower, you do that when you're getting dressed, you do that when you're driving to work or wherever you're going. You can fit that 12 to 15 times in your day. And it eventually just becomes a habit, a way of, this is how you breathe. And so when a person is having that moment of anxiety where they're normally, to the roof, they're going to be somewhere just a little lower, maybe not quite where they want to be, but it'll be much more manageable and tolerable if they've been practicing.
So did you cover, I'm sorry, because I was laughing really hard, not at anything you said specifically. It was that you said, well, if you can't commit to this, and I was like, it's breathing. If they can't commit to breathing, they're gonna die. Just like I was like, I could not stop laughing. I had to mute the mic. I was laughing so hard. Oh my god! I just had that thought in my head, like, well, it's breathing. What the hell else are they gonna do?
Can we just clarify the difference between breathing and deep breathing?
Yeah,
I know you're breathing.
Yes, it just struck me as funny. So. But so I was laughing so hard, I literally didn't hear part of that. So I'm going to ask, is there anything mentally they need to focus on, or did I miss that part? Did you cover that?
When they're deep breathing, you should just focus on your breath.
Okay. No mantra or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay. And I didn't know if visualization was any part of that.
There's another one of the relaxation techniques is visual imagery, which we use a lot too. It can be anything, but think of your happy place, think of the happiest time of your life, or what you imagine the happiest time of your life being, who's around, how's the weather, that kind of thing.
I'm still
crying. Tom's still hung up on breathing. For Tom, deep breathing is breathing.
Yeah, when she said visualization, I'm like, I look at stuff all the time. I almost said that. I couldn't stop. Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. Look, I totally understand what you're saying, but it just struck me as funny. I couldn't stop myself. I was like, that's hilarious. I don't care who you are.
This is why Tom would not be a good patient. So.
Oh no, I would be a great patient. I think, but until she said that, I'd be like, okay, hold on. So it's funny she said deep breathing, And I was going to ask a little follow up on this. So Apple iWatch, randomly throughout the day, my thing, ding, breathes for 1 minute. So are there apps that people could maybe use, or is there something you would recommend for someone that's looking to do this?
There are so many apps. Good grief. So my go-to is YouTube. I love YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really do. I always suggest it to all the patients that I do deep breathing, and there's also progressive muscle relaxation, which is one that I have people do a lot too. But YouTube, I just stress to them there's going to be a million different things to choose from. Listen to a couple for 10, 20 seconds, find a voice you can tolerate. Some of those are pretty deep and manly, some of them are kind of seductive, so just kind of what you can listen to and be appropriate with. So
Yeah, I like how she threw that appropriate in at the end. So.
So basically, it's not Tom and I, is what you're saying.
Yes, do not go to YouTube and find, no.
Oh, there's going to be a video of me now doing some deep breathing. Yeah.
Oh my God.
We can do a deep breathing video.
Oh, we're going to do one. That's happening now. No, okay, so I know this isn't the same thing, but I had a friend, Teresa. She actually very much got me into like a mindful meditation you listen to when you were going to sleep. And I would just listen. I had the hardest time. I get bouts of insomnia. And she was like, you really need to listen to this guy and just do what he says. Just like lay down in bed, put in your headphones, and just go from there. Like he tells you what. It was fantastic. I really.
So it was a guided one.
Yeah, it was, because honestly, I don't know enough about meditation or anything like that. I've done yoga and they say focus, but that's a little easier to focus on, your hand placement when you're sweating. You can do that. But when you're like laying in bed and you're trying to focus on something, my brain just goes everywhere. So hearing this guy talk, and I didn't have to think of stuff myself, was amazing. I highly suggest that to anybody out there.
That's very helpful for a lot of people who will say that their mind wanders every which way. They can't clear their mind. So having a guided one, someone that's talking to you, telling what to do every step of the way, is really helpful.
I did have a brief out-of-body experience one time in a psychiatric hospital, Tom.
You did?
Is this funny?
Do you hear the panic in Jess's voice? Like, I don't want to be here. Yeah.
No, so it was when I was in nursing school. In our clinical rotation, we did one in one of the local psychiatric inpatient units. And for whatever reason that day, they were doing like a deep relaxation / it wasn't hypnosis, but it was just a deep relaxation therapy. And they had given us little temperature monitors, the little ones like you used to stick on your forehead to could tell you a rough temperature, the little dots that would light up different colors. So they gave us those, and they put us in this room that was a little bit dark. And there was still some light, and then they had music playing, and then there was somebody in the room talking and kind of doing a guided relaxation. And it was like, okay, so you're leaving this room when you're flying over water, and just this whole thing. And I was the only one in the room that got, because apparently they say the deeper relaxation you get, your body temperature drops. And I was the only one that my body temperature had dropped all the way down to like the green color. My body temperature dropped like 4 degrees. And the lady was like, you would be very susceptible to hypnosis. You need to remember that. And I'm like, oh,
well, now I want to know.
But it was very weird. It was everything that she was saying. I was mentally experiencing it. It was I've never had that happen before. Never had that happen since. But like when she was talking about you're flying over the water and this and that, and it was legitimately, I could see it and almost feel it.
One of the ones I listened to was, I want to say it was like through outer space, and I love anything to deal with outer space. And so when they're talking about that, I was like, wow, like I understand. I don't know if I quite got that deep, but I'm just saying like, oh. And I think part of it is, and maybe Jess can chime in on this and tell me what's wrong with me, but my brain, we don't have enough time for that episode, I know. But I was thinking this specific incident or incidents is my brain. If you say, Tom, just focus on your breathing, my brain is going to be like, screw this. We got to think about 12 different things all at once. Like I just can't. But if someone is telling me Tom, think about you're over water. You're in a grassy field. Then all of a sudden I'm there. I get it. So is there something to that, or is that something like when you're dealing with somebody or those therapies, is there a person that you would recommend one or the other to? Is there a way to tell if a person would be better for self meditation or guided meditation?
So a lot of times, you just know because they'll just outright tell you, oh, my mind wanders, 90 miles an hour and I think about this, that, and the other, and my mind just won't shut down. I mean, those types of people really need guided. They really, really do. If you have the patient that comes in and 100% willing to try anything that you throw at them, have already done some self-help types of things, those are probably the people that are going to benefit more just kind of on their own. Maybe they can read through something or listen to something one time and just take that with them wherever they go.
Okay.
So it's it's different for everybody. It just kind of depends.
I just didn't know if there was like this person would benefit from this type of therapy more, but
yeah.
Okay.
Well, Jess, is there anything else that you would want to add before we?
Well, there are some pretty cool apps. There's one that's called Stop, Breathe, and Think that I use sometimes, and I do recommend it. It's kind of like an emotional, like a check-in. It just kind of asks you to think about how your day's gone, how you want it to go, what's the end to look like, that kind of thing. So that's a pretty cool one, Stop, Breathe, and Think.
And just to clarify, that is like stop with a comma in between the stop and the breathe, right? Like you're not stopping breathing.
Stop, comma, breathe, and think. Yes.
Well, I'm going to be thinking a lot about breathing if I'm stopping it. So I mean, it's not a clever name. It works. You'll be thinking about all sorts of breathing if you hold your breath long enough.
Oh, my goodness.
Any other apps, Jess, that you really like?
Mindfulness Daily. It's a breathing app. A lot of people have it on their Apple Watches already. It'll just, like Tom said earlier, it'll kind of ding or make a noise and remind you to breathe for, I think it's 1 minute, and it'll go every hour on the hour.
So real quick clarification, and this is just kind of an add-on. So when you talk about mindfulness, is that ever a therapy that you recommend to anyone? Because I know that it's a whole separate type of, we've used the word mindfulness, but I don't think, because I wouldn't have known until I saw, I think it was like 60 Minutes or somebody did a special on it, of there's an actual mindfulness like therapy, movement, etc. Do you have a recommendation, or have you ever used it or done any of those workshops, etc., on mindfulness?
I have gone to a couple different conferences that had a mindfulness section in it. I mean, there are actually people that are certified to do nothing but mindfulness types of things. I mean, they get really, really in-depth and into it. I know all of our local providers, like at Mental Health, everyone knows what mindfulness is, and they can teach some of the techniques of it and be able to explain it so they can work on it at home.
So for maybe the people out there that don't know, that are listening to, give me like a 30-second synopsis. What exactly is mindfulness?
Mindfulness is being present in the moment. Just thinking about like what is happening right here and right now. Like, how does the air feel? Are you hot? Are you cold? How does the clothes feel on your body? What are the smells that you're smelling? What kinds of things can you hear? It's just accepting what is happening right now. That is mindfulness.
Oh, well, I was really mindful because I stopped breathing because you told me to try that for a minute ago. And I was like, man, I'm really feeling faint. So there you go.
Great. If that is what you took from this, that's great.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Well, Tom, are you ready for our final segment of 5 questions?
Oh, I think I am, Jess. So here's what's going to happen. Ben is going to... We asked everybody at the end. I don't know if you've heard this. You said you listened to the show, but you may or may not have caught this. We ask all of our guests the same 5 questions at the end of the show, and don't think about it. We just want you to give us your answer. And then basically he asks the questions, and then I make fun of your answers. That's roughly how this is going to happen.
Can I just sit in silence?
Well, based on
would be a first.
Yeah, exactly. But and if you do that, what will happen is I will be like, oh, I know Jess. I'm going to fill in what I think she would answer. So you may want to pick how silent you are on these questions.
Oh my God.
So, all right, Ben. Are you ready, Jess?
Sure.
This is the
All
pressure
right.
cooker. This is the crucible right here. You ready?
I'm going to cue up this music here. Join us on a journey into the inner psyche of our guest as we ask five questions. Some pretty cheesy music, isn't it? Yeah.
Hey,
that
we
was
like
horrible.
we like the cheesy music.
Oh.
John and Jason, the music directors, want to bring it back for the entire show.
Play that in the background the entire time. All right, Jess. 5 questions. Question 1: what is your favorite? It says medical. So, what's your favorite medical word? Or you can be mental health or just word in general. So, what's your favorite word?
Oh my God. My favorite word? Is that a...
In general, like when we have medical related personnel on here, we ask them like, what's your favorite, like a respiratory therapist would say atelectasis, like, do you have a favorite word related to your work? But if you can't think of one, what's just your favorite word in general?
God, see, I'm not good with this.
You're
Put me on the spot. See?
Yeah, but that's what makes it great. Just tell us. You're thinking of a word right now. Be mindful of the word and tell us.
Oh my God. Mindfulness. There's my word.
Oh, that's
All right.
weak shit.
That was good.
That's weak shit.
That was good.
Oh, Lord. Go, Ben.
All right.
That was good.
Question 2: if you could do any job in the world other than what you currently do, what would it be?
Ooh, I would love to be an interior decorator.
I can see that. Yeah.
I think that would be so much fun.
Oh, make this whole wall pale pink. Sure.
Or blush and bashful.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
All right. Question 3: think back to your first car. Was it a stylish ride or a rolling turd?
Rolling turd?
Was that a question or was that what you were answering?
No, it really was. It was actually my mom's. It was a Nissan, and it had one tinted window on the
That's
passenger
great.
side that did not roll down all the way.
I like the one tinted window. Like
One
the
tinted-
passengers can roll.
Well, I
Everybody else is baking.
think it probably got knocked out or something happened to it. And so that's what was the replacement.
What color was it?
It was blue, navy blue.
All right. Question 4: if your house is on fire, everyone, including your pets, are safe, what's the one thing that you want to get out of your house?
This is a bad question because I did have a house fire.
Traumatic.
Right,
Yeah,
like,
traumatic
triggered some-
incidents. Yeah.
Right? And do you know what I went back for?
Oh, my God, you
What?
did?
Like I really did. Yeah, I got my mom out of the house, and
yeah.
it was a bad deal. I went back in for my stepfather's ashes that were in a box. That's what I went back for.
Wow. Like
for real.
I believe you. Like I'm not. Huh.
So normally I would say something funny, but I feel like that would be bad now. So let's just move on. Wow. Thank you for totally sobering up the fun mode. Damn.
I mean, that's what came to my mind. That's what happened.
No, that's.
Well, so it's supposed to be a hypothetical, not an actual. Like
You didn't specify that.
No. You answered it perfectly. You were right. It was just, oh. Yeah.
Can we get her some
man.
like a Debbie Downer?
Yeah. All right.
But I will say he did specifically say though, if everybody is not safe. So I was like, you got grandma. We already knew that, so that doesn't count. What'd you go in for after that?
All right. Let's have some more fun with this last question.
Yeah. Wow.
Question 5. You have $9.18 in your pocket. What all do you buy?
I'm going to buy me, how much did you say? 5?
$9.18.
9. I'm going to buy a bottle of water.
Okay.
I'm going to buy some gum.
What's your gum?
Probably sugar free.
I like the whitening gum. Whatever that is.
Okay.
Trident whitening. Let's see. I'm gonna buy. It's not very much money.
Well, it depends on how much you spend on the Trident and the water. I mean,
I know.
I mean, so
Well, that's $5 right there. So.
I would say, what kind of water? Is it like the Sam's Club, or are you like an Evian? You like the Fiji?
I like the smart water.
it's like $6
Jennifer.
by itself.
Yeah, Jennifer Aniston water. Okay, gotcha.
If I go to a convenience store and specifically buy water, that's what I buy. But other than that, I have the Sam's Club water bottles at home. So
Well, here, I'll save you $5. I'll fill up a bottle with tap water, and we'll.
Yeah.
Smart.
She was like, I love this artesian Ben water.
oh God.
Okay, so you have like $4 left. So what are you spending the last $4 on? What's your like go-to snack?
My go-to snack?
Yeah.
Probably kale.
Don't go healthy. I want to know.
Yeah, I want to know.
No, I
yeah.
like Heath bars.
There you go. That's an answer.
That is my favorite. That's my favorite right there.
That
Heath bar
is a good answer right there. I was really expecting her to be like, I like fresh raspberry smoothies with wheatgrass. Damn it. Like, just give me something
You've got
bad.
me pegged all wrong. I like a good candy bar.
I'm just glad you picked the right one. So
yeah, toffee. Toffee's best. Toffee and chocolate.
Good
it's
stuff.
delicious.
It's the best. Good stuff.
I mean, it's not a Reese's peanut butter cup, but it'll work.
Hey,
that's my
those
second
too.
favorite.
Yeah,
that is my second favorite.
All right.
My third favorite is to get both of those mixed up in a vanilla milkshake at Dairy Queen. So there you go. Beat that. So
do you do that?
Who the fuck doesn't? So
I never have.
Well,
I might now.
The next time you get a Blizzard, you can get whatever you want in it. Every once in a while, you got to throw in an Oreo. Like, it's fucking fantastic. I have stopped having to do that, though, especially with the little guy in the back seat, because he'll be like, yeah, I want ice cream. And then somehow in the 15-minute ride home, he doesn't want it anymore. And I'm trying to drive and hold ice cream, and it just, no. So no more treats for him. That's only for Dad.
Aw, that's mean.
It's not me. I would get him one if he would eat it. I just don't want to wear it and try and drive.
So you're not a multitasker.
I'm a safe driver, ma'am. I like to have the ability to control a vehicle. So
don't mess with his safe driver discount.
Hey, yo, that's no joke. So there you go.
All right. Well, we better wrap up that 5 questions because,
yeah,
you
just kind of.
We're gonna have to damn pre-show a disclaimer every time we do 5 questions now.
You're welcome. I'm glad.
All right. Well, that wraps up 5 questions. So if you like what you have heard and you want to hear more, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, all at Just Some Podcast. You can find us on the web at www.justsomepodcast.com. Email us, admin@justsomepodcast.com.
Jess, do you have any last parting words for the listeners out there?
For the listeners, any parting words? I just want to say, if a person in need of any mental health services, please talk to somebody. Please ask for help. Help is there. Help is available. Whatever we can do, we have to know. So just speak up. Those are my parting words.
That's a great ending right there, Tom.
That is great, because I know some of the people that listen to the show, and they listen to us. They obviously need some mental health help. So that
God, jeez.
So
no, I'm super glad Jess came on the show. It was a great time. I learned a lot, and I hope she had a good time. Did you have a good time?
I did. I had a great time, even though you told me I'd have a very quiet podcast of my own. It's fine.
Okay. And yet
I'm a listener by heart. I mean, it's what I do. I listen.
Okay. And that's why your podcast funny would be nothing but listen. Like, that's the funny part. You have to imagine the listener is doing nothing but listening to you listen. Like, that's the fucking juxtaposition. All right. That's why it's funny, Jess.
It wasn't funny.
Jess's Juxtaposition. There you go. There's the name of your damn podcast. I've done everything for you. Okay? Like, there's nothing. You literally just have to get some cover art and just put a fucking podcast out now. Every week, there's an hour of Jess going, I hear what you're saying, and I feel your words. And then just 5 minutes of silence. See how fucking this is amazing. Like,
oh my God. Thank you.
I also imagine me and Ben having a guided meditation now, and it's just me like eating like Arby's beef and cheddar. Like, no, imagine you're at the drive-thru getting another beef and cheddar. Like, don't imagine you're jogging. That's on Jess's podcast. On this podcast, you're imagining curly fries.
Wow, this is really went off the rails now, Tom.
Tomorrow's guided meditation on getting donuts. So imagine you're driving to the store, Ben, and you're getting me a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts, and then imagine bringing them to me.
But that's it. You're just imagining.
Well, I know.
It's not actually happening.
Sad face. I know.
Oh.
I know. And now we're back to fucked up and sad. Thanks, Jess. Wow.
Just bringing it back.
Oh, yeah. No, crashing reality. I love it. That's great. So now I got to go have a couple drinks so I can go to sleep. Thanks, Jess. So,
you're welcome.
All right.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jess. We really do appreciate you being on the show. And like Jess said, if you are a person and you need assistance with mental health, reach out and talk to someone. Because of that, we will also drop some numbers in podcast description for the suicide hotline, as well as some other mental health resources if you do need them. And kind of like Mike said last week, mental health is health. Don't forget that also. So that is part of the whole complete picture, as we're doing our mental health awareness month for the month of July on our podcast. Tom, anything you want to add before you get off here?
Nope. I just hope everybody paid attention, and I hope they learned a lot. And everything we're doing, I hope, is to help improve how we take care of our patients with mental health aspects. So I like to joke, but there is that part of me that's hoping that somebody is going to be able to help somebody else with the information we put out.
I agree. On that note, hope everybody has a great week.
And everybody stay safe out there.
It's time to get off feng shui, move out to North LA, live with the playmates and the stars. Drive cars or run on guilty sin, make some hooker friends, name my own drinks at all the bars, and everyone would know my name. Parents cry in shame, praying for me till I finally peter out. Come to my senses, see there's more than life in me. I could be better. I've got my doubt. This will pass, oh, this will pass.